Hello and welcome to the Jump Inside Jumpcast, where we're going to be doing a stream. We're going to be doing it in just a moment. But first, I just want to let you know that Camazoid will be joining us. But right now, Blue Fox, who normally joins us, is actually based in Germany right now. So he won't be joining us for this time being. Anyway, back to the podcast right now. So Camazoid, hello. How are you doing?
Hey, hope you guys been well.
So yes, I want to kick things up by talking about a big video game that has been released. And this is what I want to say before we actually get down into the deep of this podcast. It's a game that I absolutely love. It's called Payday 3, but it's got a bit of an issue about it.
I'm gonna be fair with you. For a second, I thought you were talking about Starfield because I haven't checked or watched anything about Payday 3, but I did notice and seen so many people mad about the servers, and that's not good.
So the servers on the game, they didn't quite hold up, which is a little bit annoying for the players that actually want to play online.
You know what? I'm at least grateful for the game that, at least in terms of gameplay, that it actually works and it's kind of good. I heard that many people say that the gameplay itself is actually good and it's kind of fun.
I mean, I played the game for 2 hours and there was a matchmaking error. Yeah. This is not fun. This is not good for people who want to play the game. Now, they have this thing in the game which is a bit annoying. It's online only. I mean... I don't like this whole thing. It's the Hitman thing all over again. It's online only. What are your thoughts about this?
This what they are trying to do to many video games coming up. Even there's the game coming up about the Suicide Squad that's actually before the game even released has the same issue of you have to be online in order to play the game by yourself, which is totally I think of it as stupid and unnecessary. If I want to play the game offline, why can't I do that? Do I necessarily have to be online? What if my connection is completely horrible? That means that I still can't play the game.
And for the players that want to play this game who don't have a strong connection and they want to play it offline, they're not going to get that opportunity. I mean, I know that it's not going to be a problem for me because I can play it online, but anyone who wants to play it offline, they can't do that.
No, man. I'm going to say this to you, but I will absolutely have problems with this. My connection is not the very best. I have a lot of problems with when playing online. And as soon as I heard this Payday 3 is that you have to always be online even if you want to play solo, yeah, that's a pass for me. It just makes me feel like some developers, when making their games, they don't consider the different kinds of people. They just do think that you may have a strong connection. Kind of like a comment that Todd Howard made on Bethesda that pissed me off a lot. When many people started asking that the game doesn't run very well on their PCs and started asking Bethesda to do some fixes or to take care of these issues. And then Todd Howard just came out in an interview and said, why don't you power up your PC? With what money do I have that can allow me to power up my PC? Like, that was absolutely stupid. For me, it's just total. It feels like evil when developers don't consider the people who don't have many resources, don't have strong connections or money in order to strengthen their hardware to further enjoy the games, which feels kind of wrong to me. That's why I think games that you have to always be online in order to play it by yourself feels completely stupid and unnecessary. And even I'll say it now, I hope that Payday 3 fixes this issue, and I hope that many people consider eliminating this issue. But I'll say it now on this podcast, every game that's gonna have to consider itself that you have to be online and for you to play solo, it's gonna be a total fail.
I think kind of the whole aspect of what the developer is trying to do is to be able to be in a position where they can have this game and no one mods it. It's like their game. You can't cheat at their game. I mean, I liked a mod when I was playing on PC where I get to see see how many bad guys there are inside this whole area. So for example, if there's 8 police, I know there's 8 police, and that kind of edits my strategy a little bit, which is something that's awesome. And I love it how I get the experience of being able to edit my strategy. But I get what they're trying to do. The developers are trying to do it so you can't like cheat your levels or cheat this or unlock weapons that you have to unlock legit.
Yeah.
But you know what that's done? That's kind of made it so that people who want to play it legit now have to create accounts, and they're going to get matchmaking errors, which is not going to be very good, especially on launch.
Absolutely.
But you know what? Anyway, let's get down to the big bulkiness of what this stream is all about. And we're talking about DLCs. So, Camazoid, what are DLCs?
All right. So DLCs are kind of like expansions for video games that you will have to buy to, let's say, get new elements in the game, or new characters, new costumes, and many different aspects. I see that there are some DLCs that are excellently well done, that are expanded on the gameplay, on the story, and all. And there are some DLCs that completely feel like a waste of money, and it feels like the developers use these kind of DLC to just earn more money. For example, one thing that I absolutely hate nowadays is within the fighting game industry. As you can see, many fighting games that come out in the next few years, the character roster becomes less and less with characters. Mortal Kombat 11 had a really good initial roster when it came out, and then now Mortal Kombat 1 just released and the roster decreased a little bit. And what pisses me off a lot is that characters that were on the last Mortal Kombat 11, are now off the roster and reintroduced into the new Mortal Kombat 1 game as DLC characters. And I see that as totally unnecessary. It feels totally wrong for me. And there are many other DLCs, for example, for original Last of Us that came out in 2003 on the PS3. There was a DLC that came out which titled like Grounded. This DLC only has skins for weapons, and it introduces a new difficulty level. That's it. So you basically buy a new difficulty modifier for the game to re-experience it, which I feel is totally a waste of money. Like, why the hell didn't you put this very challenging difficulty within the game from the start? Like, why do I have to pay for it? Or why didn't you do it on a free update for me to fully re-experience the game and challenge myself? But no, you have to pay in order to play the game on a much harder difficulty, which kind of like feels kind of wrong and stupid. Like, but there's also, for me, there are some DLCs that are done right. Some of my favorite games, as you and the other members of the podcast know, I absolutely love the Soulsborne series.
Yeah.
For me, I consider the DLC for Dark Souls 3 by the name of the Ring City as one of my all-time favorite DLC expansions, because it expands on the game. It expands on the lore, the story of the game itself. It expands on the worlds by offering some totally new and incredibly well done locations, and as well as the difficulty. The challenges that are done in these DLCs challenge you at your utmost best. Like, this game's DLC is basically wants to test how much you learned and understood about the game, how far how are you able to overcome these challenges. There's also another DLC that I absolutely love, which is very well illustrated by the director, which is the DLC expansions for Doom Eternal, which are the Ancient Gods 1 and the Ancient Gods Part 2. I love how the director himself released it in a stream he did, how he talked about the DLC. He wanted for the main game to release, and the players who bought the game to learn it, understand the mechanics, and then reach the level of the fun zone, where they start mastering the game, the gameplay, mastering how well they play the game and understanding all challenges until the game itself becomes easy. Then these developers came up with the DLC expansions, DLC number 1, which is the Ancient Gods. What the developers did here is that they wanted to challenge the players. It's basically like they said to themselves, are these players capable of overcoming this challenge when they say to themselves, or they think that they mastered the game? So they made these 3 levels that are absolutely long, that for starters, they are very long, and second, they are very challenging. they challenged the players to their absolute capacity. They wanted to see if these players mastered their game, understood the fun zone and everything, and see if they are capable to beat this challenge. And I absolutely like that. It just feels like the developers wanted to challenge me, the player, and I accepted that challenge, purchased its DLC, and had an absolute blast. But one thing that hurts me the most is that the fighting game industry is just going the wrong way with DLCs. Specifically nowadays, I remember I was very mad because when they announced Mortal Kombat 1, they immediately announced the DLC, which kind of feels like very wrong, because the DLC is supposed to hype up your game after its release. But now you're literally using the DLC to hype up the release of your game. Many people are going to buy Mortal Kombat 1 not because they absolutely love the game series or they love the gameplay or story, but because of the DLC characters, because of Homelander and Omni-Man, these two characters from absolutely different series, from an anime series and from a live action series, who are going to be introduced into this game as DLC, which is going to lead many people to buy this game just so you can buy these two characters and play with them. And I absolutely hate that. It just makes you feel like, do you want to buy this fighting game with only 16 characters and then wait, a year or 2 years until another 12 characters get introduced and get into the game and then buy it? Or do you want to wait 2 years until the all of the roster is released and then you buy the game with everything on it?
You know, I'm going back to the very first time I was like getting my very first DLC, and I remember not knowing what it was or what DLC stood for, and I just searched it up, and it was downloadable content. And the first time I looked at DLC, because I was young at the time, and DLCs weren't a major factor in video games, and it was kind of like, oh, what's this thing? It's downloadable content. Oh no, that could mean virus, because if you say that 15 years ago, oh, scared. No, it's like 20 years ago now. It's like, oh, 2003, don't download extra content into your game. Could be red flags. Not good thing. Turns out DLCs were actually fine, and more and more people slowly started making DLCs. I remember watching a YouTube video back then, and one of the things in the YouTube video was like a guy walking through a door into the video game, and it was in Fallout 3. And I was watching the game, and I was watching him walk through this door, and I was like, I tried to follow that on the YouTube video, and I couldn't see the door there, and that's what got me intrigued. Going, exactly what is this thing? And I think sometimes it's done correctly. If you enjoy a game so much, it doesn't take anything away from the game. It adds to the game. So like, I think DLCs are done very correctly when the addition doesn't matter, but if you want to play more, the option is there. That's when I think a DLC is good. Now, when I think a DLC is bad is when it's like, ooh, you've got to download this DLC, otherwise you can't do this special thing in a game. I'm like, well, you know, if it's a cosmetic extra pack, that's fine. If it's like a gun, that's fine. I'm not too bothered. But if it's something like really game changing, then it's I'm like, why is this a DLC? Like, I can't really explain it too well, but like sometimes things are it's more these days than it is back in the past. Like, number one, I pay to win games. Yeah, those are the one. That's where I really hate DLC, because it's I don't know. Like, there's this game out. I'm not sure if you've played Star Citizen, but Star Citizen, you go off into space, and on that game, you can buy spaceships for real life money. They're really expensive. They're really nice looking. I'm never going to buy one because but it's very much, it feels very pay to win. You buy a big spaceship, you can travel the galaxy faster, you can do things in the game much easier. It allows the game to be easier. So it's like, if you've got money, the game's easier. This is the stuff I find like in shark cards in GTA. You pay money, you get to play the game easier. It shouldn't affect, but it does in some stances. Like I was playing like some games recently, yeah, and I noticed. I'm not sure if you've noticed this. There's very much a an aspect of how can I put this? You know, you remember you can pay for like credits now inside a game. Yeah. Sometimes games do this good, and sometimes games do this bad. I'm like, so I look at them and I'm like, okay, if there's no point to buy them, I'm not going to buy them. But on the fact that sometimes they're just there, it's just microtransactions. Yeah.
That's a whole other terrible story.
Whole nother level.
It's
still DLC because it downloads extra stuff to your game, but it comes in the form of cash, and that's like, pay to rank up and all that kind of stuff. But no, there's a whole good side to DLC, and if it gives you more of what you already love, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
I don't like that, as you said before, the unlocking character thing. Why should you have to play Why should you have to pay more money to play as your favorite player? What's that? Why? That shouldn't be a thing. But if it expands the game, if it gives you like more levels or something, that like it depends what type of levels they are. If they're levels in a fighting thing, why not just give it out there for free? But if it's certain areas in a map that you didn't have access, that are new and have access and have whole brand new storylines, then that's a different story. That's a good thing. That's kind of my opinion. Moving on to kind of like the next question. Yeah.
Okay.
And this one I think you're probably gonna have a bit more of a talk about.
Sure.
You know, sometimes you get like games when they release, and you can buy different versions of the games. And one of them is obviously play this game with an extra map and an extra thing. If you pay a little bit extra, why not just include that into the main game in the first place? It's what it is. It's an incentive to pay a little bit more money.
Yeah, for me, there is another issue that's close to this. The pre-orders, specifically more pre-order DLC. I have a simple problem with that. There are some games where you can pre-order and then get some extra content before when the game releases and it is downloaded. Then you get these special items. Like, do you think like that there's a difference when somebody pre-orders the game and then gets this like extra content, and then a few days later this other random guy buys the game after release? Like, this guy literally purchased your game after release, so why doesn't he get this pre-order special items? Because I don't think there's a major difference when you pre-order a game and then some other guy buys the game when it's released, because literally the same thing happened, which is both of these guys buy the game. So for me, it's just I'm thinking a little bit, and I'm just saying, like, why aren't the pre-order content turns into free content after like the game's released and some people buy it? Because again, I'm gonna mention Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 11 had, I think, if I remember, when you purchase the game, when you pre-order the game, you get an extra character for free. And for me, I'm just thinking like, okay, if I pre-order the game, I get this extra character unlocked. And if after the game's released, I purchase this game, I don't get him, so I still have to buy him, which is kind of feels weird. Like, if I pre-order the game, I get this new character, and if the game's released and then I buy the game, I don't get him. Like, why doesn't the pre-order content turns into free content after the game's released and then buy it? It just turns into DLC even after the pre-order time is done, which is, I feel like, totally wrong. For me, I feel like any pre-order content should turn into free content after the game's already released, because you use this pre-order content in order to push players to buy this game, to use this character early. But then again, like if I pre-ordered this game mainly because I loved what you showed through like trailers, through talks and everything, and when you show me this pre-order content, I get more excited to want to try this guy earlier. So what about the other people who like to try out the game after the reviews and talks are released? Why don't they get this extra content for free? Like it's the same thing. It's not like the pre-order purchase is at a price and then the official price for a game is different. No, they're both the same. So why don't I, after I buy this game after release, why don't I get this extra pre-order content? For me, that just feels wrong and feels like they use this as a way to make more money. So it's not gonna happen, but I do hope in the future that you do consider that when you pre-order a game and get extra content, I hope that the pre-order content turns into free content after the game's released and people buy it after release. Because nowadays purchasing a game is a little bit challenging. What I mean by that, you have to consider the choice when you purchase a game, because nowadays many games get released on very horrible states. So many people have to watch reviews, listen to people, see the opinions of all kinds of people, or to know that is this game gonna be totally great or enjoyable or fun to play, or is it gonna be a horrible experience? So many people nowadays have to be careful with their purchase, which is why I think the pre-order content is totally unnecessary. They just use it to push people to buy their game earlier, and then this pre-order content turns into DLC content for the people who just want to buy the game after they know how's it like. So that's pre-order DLC is bad for me.
Yeah, I'm just gonna bring it and just say something on extra. One of my favorite games of all times, Mass Effect 3. Actually, what we'll do at the end of this podcast, we've got a game coming up, by the way, just to let you know. So if you do want to stick around for that, it is coming up. One of my favorite games that I like playing, it's in my top 20 favorite games. Mass Effect 3. I remember because I was like, I'm a big fan of it. I'm really big. Like when I'm a big fan of a game, I'm a really big fan of the game. I got the silver edition for Payday because I absolutely love it no matter what. I love Payday. I love what it is. It's got the errors in it right now, but as soon as it gets cleaned up, it's going to be a game that I'm going to play more and more. But at the moment, like it just needs a little bit of fixing behind the scenes. Might need a lot of fixing. But no. One of the things is Mass Effect 3. One of my favorite games. I'm such a big fan of it. I went to the store to get the collector's edition of the game, to get it like in the metal case thing, because I like a little metal case in my games. And that's always quite nice. But it came with DLC content, like pre-ordered DLC content, all that kind of stuff that you'd get with a game like this. Yeah, and I remember I was like really excited. I'm gonna be able, like, I know it's not majorly special, but it just got me excited because I'm a completionist. I like having everything in the game, and just to play Mass Effect 3 after buying Mass Effect 1 and all its DLCs, Mass Effect 2 and all its DLCs, Mass Effect 3, I can't remember if it was a season pass or not, but I got the extra collector's edition bonus stuff. So I got like the armor and all that extra, and then I got the robot dog that you could have down in the hangar bay that would just go around the hangar bay and just be a dog. And it was just it wasn't majorly important, but you could just see it there, and it just kind of cool. It was like just an extra thing. And then I was like, okay, I may not be, it may not be that much, but at least I get a cool looking customization version of a collector edition of Shepard, and I get a robot dog for Shepard, and I get a few extra guns for Shepard, all that kind of stuff. And he goes around the galaxy and he starts saving people, and it sounds pretty cool. And then 10 years later, Mass Effect Legendary Edition comes out. Yeah. Now everyone has access to it. Now I feel less special. I went to the store to get that extra DLC because I was like, okay, that's collector's edition. Not everyone's gonna have the collector's edition, and then and then and now everyone's got the collector's edition for a lot cheaper. And I was like, okay, it doesn't really bother me because I went to buy the collector's edition because I was like, sorry, no, I went to buy the legendary edition because it's better graphics and all that kind of stuff, and it makes the game feel better. There's no online mode on it. They've taken the offline thing off, so you can play the game, yeah, and you don't need to do any multiplayer matches to save the galaxy as you did in the previous. But it was a nice bring everything together, make it look better, and you sell everything that you've created, all the DLC, all that stuff that you had in the previous game that you sold extra pieces of money for, put that all in the legendary edition and just sell that legendary edition for one solid price. And that, I think, was a very good idea. Yes, I know everyone now has access to it, but and it's just, it takes away that limited, that the 3 games that you brought in the past now are kind of worthless. But material wise, it's good just having it there. But it does take away the effect of being able to go like, oh yeah, I have these little extra things that no one else has got, or it just brings it a nice wraparound that like everyone has access to that for free, and I think that's a good thing. That's kind of it's kind of where I'm at with that. Yeah.
But it's still okay because at the end of the day, for you, I think
okay.
the experience was fully worth it for you to like experience those deals, purchase those DLCs and experience them back in the day. Where for you it's absolutely worth it, and it's still. It does feel a little bit hurt when you know that you purchased those DLCs and then literally a year or two later a whole combination of everything within those video game series came out with a lower price and you can experience everything of it. But still, experiencing those DLCs in that game when everything came out, much more worth it. Okay. Since it took 7 years, then. You did the right thing and experience it was totally worth it, I guess.
What about, in your opinion, season passes, pre-planned DLC that comes out throughout the year? What is your opinion on this? I think it's okay depending what it is. If they're like, just kind of keeps the game exciting for the year for, I think, multiplayer reasons. But there are some times when this kind of goes wrong. But like, what's your opinion?
Season passes, I think they can be good when done right, or they can destroy the excitement and hype for the game. Take for example Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite, when released, everybody was excited for it. Everybody was playing the online mode, and were absolutely happy for the game and for the developers. And then they introduced the season passes. Which basically, so what is the season pass? It has one new map and then few new armor sets, just few. And the armors, it's not like the armor sets are different and everything, just different colors. Season pass number 2, new armors. Season pass, next season pass, just another few new armors, one new map. So and it's not like every single month a new season pass. No, these take like 3 to 4 months until a new season pass comes out, and then they literally don't introduce anything. No new mods, no new weapons stuff. They basically take so much time to give so much few. So this is a season pass done wrong. When you like want to expand upon the game with like season passes and hype up the people, at least with each one introduce three or at least 2 new maps. Introduce a lot of costumes with different variations. Don't introduce new armor with just different types of colors. Try to make some variation of it. Try to play a bit with it. Show off some new weapons, new mods, show off some new elements, hype up your game so people can come back and play it. But if you're just gonna be lazy and just, here are 3 new armors with different colors, here's just a new map, and there it is. That's your season pass. and many people are just gonna stop playing it. Like Halo Infinite, Halo is supposed to be the cream of Xbox, and now Halo Infinite came out, and nobody's just talking about it. It's absolutely dead, and everybody is just hoping for the next Halo game to probably be decent at least. So I feel absolutely wrong. Even for Apex Legends, Apex Legends is season pass, just a new character. That's it, or at least a new map. Compare that to like Fortnite. Fortnite season passes at least are done very well. They introduce new characters from like
They
from
are done very well.
Yep.
You know, I'm just gonna hold you there for 1 second, as you talk about Fortnite, because there's one thing I do want to just elaborate on Fortnite, because this is something that I think, whether you hate Fortnite or whether you like Fortnite, there is something that Fortnite does very well, and that's its V-Bucks. V-Bucks actually you are able to buy the season. You need to spend money to buy V-Bucks, and you can use the V-Bucks to buy the season pass. Now, that sounds like, oh, you pay money to get V-Bucks and you have to use V-Bucks to spend money, and that's going to cost you more money. Well, no, that's actually false, because actually, if you play the actual game itself, if you play it till you get to like level 100, which isn't actually an impossible feat if you do it at the beginning of a season, you gain V-Bucks as rewards, and you can actually get around 1,100 V-Bucks per season. I haven't played it in ages, so I don't know. But when I was playing, it was like that's exactly what it was, or something like that. You can use the V-Bucks that you've earned, within that time, so you can get all the cosmetics and things that you do as you level up. But one of the things you can do when you've collected that 1,100 V-Bucks, you can use those V-Bucks that you've earned to buy the next season, which is great, because I think the game Fortnite does it perfectly. You like, if you're to spend money on the game's free, and you only have to spend £10 on the game. I think where the game's getting most of its money is I don't know where the game gets its money from. I don't know how it breaks all the rules in the rule book, but maybe it's because that many people playing online probably give it or pay it or something. I have no idea. But I think it does its DLC very well. You don't have to pay that much.
Their expansions, season passes, and DLCs are doing pretty well, and they're doing a great job. Even though I'm not a huge fan of Fortnite, seeing the type of things they do and their expansions and the type of characters they bring in, I'm really happy for that game, and I'm really happy for the people who play it. It just looks really fun. But still, that doesn't mean that I'm going to be playing Fortnite. No,
exactly. It doesn't mean I love how it's done it. Well done. It's a good game company out there. Doesn't mean I'm going to play it, though. Right, okay. I'm going to move on to this game. You ready for it? It's not really too much of a game. It's more of like an opinionated game. Kind of what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and get out of you what I think, what type of gamer are you, okay? So, and if you want to try this, do this while we're doing it. See if you get see what type of thing that yours is, see what type of gamer you are, and then comment that down in the comments down below if you want to give this a go as well. It's absolutely fine. So this is how we're going to do it. I'm going to ask Kamazoid, and I'm going to ask myself. We're going to pick 9 of our favorite games, and hopefully the games that we pick kind of determine what type of gamer we are. So do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first? It's up to you.
All right, I'll go first.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, so I wrote down my 9 favorite games of all time.
Okay.
And I was a little bit put in a lot of variety into my list. Like there are FPS games, story-based games, or fighting games. So I'll go out with my number 1 favorite game is, of course, Elden Ring. Came out created by From Software, published by Bandai Namco, released in 2022. My second favorite game of all time is Devil May Cry 3. A game came out in 2005, created by Capcom. I love its story, its gameplay, its character. I love them all. The next third favorite game of all time is God of War 1. The original God of War 1 came out in 2005. It's I consider it as one of my
Yeah.
all-time favorite. It's the one game that got me into the God of War series,
Yeah.
and it's one of those games that I played so much, and every time I played, I just can't get bored of it. I just love the story, love the character, and it's the one that got me so much into gaming.
It's generally a great game. It's something that everyone should have a go at playing. If you haven't played a God of War game, you get on board with one of the God of War games. If you have a PlayStation 4, do it. It's really good. I love it.
Absolutely, and right now, absolutely pray and hope that the Santa Monica Studios release like a remastered version or a remake for the original 3 God of War games, or at least the first 2 God of War games, because there isn't a way to experience like the original God of War games and in the PS5, which is, I think it's absolutely wrong. I do hope that they at least release a remastered version for the classic games, because they are a joy to play. Next on my list, the third is the original Resident Evil 4. This is the game that got me into the horror games, as well as it's the first Resident Evil game that I played, and it's absolutely one of the best. I love the character. The story is just kind of funny at times. It takes itself seriously. The bosses were a joy.
Yeah.
The gameplay were an absolute joy. Next on my list is a fighting game, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I consider it as one of my all-time favorite games. It's very fun to play with friends. The online is very competitive and very beautiful. The characters are from one of my favorite video games, as well characters from my favorite comics or movies from Marvel itself. Next is a very, very, very old game back from the PS1 era. Not many people know this, and the ones who know it are, I guess I can say, legends as well. So this is a Crash Bash. It is a party game. I consider it one of my all-time favorite games because of the amount of fun I had in this game. The mini games are some of my favorites. They're absolute joy. Plus, playing this game with friends is just absolutely a blast. Just many laughs and lots of fun. Next is an FPS game, number 5, I think. It's Doom Eternal. I consider it as one of my all-time favorite FPS games because of the gameplay itself, the challenge, the fun, the fun when you understand the mechanics and you master the gameplay. When you reach that fun zone, you start like moving around, moving all over the place, switching weapons, firing different weapons in different mods, obliterating enemies in seconds. I just love that game so much. Next, in another old game from the PS2 era, one of my all-times and one of the best racing games in my opinion, which is Need for Speed Most Wanted, 2005 version. The story was very well done. The cars felt so sweet. The racing was so beautiful. Plus, the police chases were very, very fun, very, very challenging at times. I love this game to heart, and it's the one of those games that got me so much into racing games. I heard a lot of news that EA is trying to remake this game, and I pray and hope that if they do remake this game, I hope they don't ruin its legacy. Next and final game, it's one of my all-time favorite. I love it so much, is Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. The story just doesn't take itself seriously. The villains are just sometimes they crack me up with the things that they talk about. The character you play with is an absolute badass. The story is just fun at times. It doesn't take itself seriously. The gameplay is just beautifully well done, with the ability to literally cut anything. And it's the only game where it feels like you're actually using a real sword to literally cut anything. So I consider it as an incredible game. It is absolutely a blast to replay every single time. And just an honorable mention, there's also Detroit Become Human. This is more of a story-based game. It doesn't
I love
have
Detroit
many,
Becoming Human.
Absolutely. The story is just something else. I consider it as one of the best story games out there, and its story is just something that I can never forget. And I played it so much to just get the many different endings.
My list is quite interesting because I looked at my list and I thought I'm going to be a variety gamer, and then I looked at them all and I thought, I am not a variety gamer. There is a specific genre that I absolutely love. So I'll go through it, yeah. I'll kind of go through it in a bit of an order of the ones that I like and think. And I kind of realized as I was placing them down, I'm kind of an old school gamer. Like, I'm really old. Like I love the new games that come out, and those are the games that I currently play. But when it comes down to it, I will go generally back and I will play a few of these games like now and again in the year if I get bored and stuff. So this is kind of my list and this is kind of my tier. So starting off right at the very far, like the earliest release, and it was Tony Hawk's like skater games. Yeah, you remember those old games? Yeah. They were made by something called, they were made by a company called Neversoft. Yeah. I can't remember if that's the exact company, but I remember something like it was the first time they went for like a different style of game. They released a game called Gun, and Gun is the first game on my list. It's based in the Wild West, and it's one of those games that kind of it did the Wild West thing before Red Dead Redemption did it, and I loved that game like to bits. I played so many hours of that game. It's the game that just made me love gaming so much more. That's the reason it was a thing. Yeah. Second game on the list. Yeah. Halo Combat Evolved. It was my very first game I ever played. Yeah. It took me a year to complete. I say that. I was really young at the time. I didn't know how Xbox worked. It was my very first time I plugged in a console and played a game. I found it quite tricky to get all the controls sorted. And it was the last level, yeah? And you had to do kind of like this jump. I could never do this jump, yeah? So I kind of stopped playing video games. I can't just playing that video game because that was the only game I had. So I stopped playing the game for like 9 months or something. Then I came back to it, and then I did the level again when I was a bit older, and I was like, I did the jump. And then I was really excited about that game. Then I brought my next game, which is kind of a weird story because you don't really hear many people do it that way. But yeah, that was kind of the second game on the list. I got into Fable, but I really didn't like Fable until I got to Fable 2. Fable 2 would be the next game on the list. And Fable 2 was like the first time I experienced kind of like that whole realm of characters, the whole realm of being able to make choices. I loved the game. I loved the fact that in Fable 2, you could make choices that affected the entirety of the game. It was beautifully well done. I loved how that game worked. That was my game of gamer choice. I love Fable 2. I love making choices and running around and being able to do whatever I like in a game. It just made me feel like I actually made an impact instead of just playing level by level. Next game on the list, yeah. Dragon Age. I loved Dragon Age. Absolutely love it. Origins was my first one that I got into. The effect that you could roam around that world, and again, every single choice that you make depends on an outcome of the game. It really affects the ending. The ending of that game isn't so much as it's a choice of which direction you take. It's more of like in the after effects of the game. You see different pictures and you see the lifestyles what everyone chose to do after the game ended. And it just kind of like, it just made like little kind of like, this is the story, this is what happened afterwards. And I thought it was very well done. I thought the game was class. And yeah, and there's like 4 different ways you could do that battle, which was miles before the ending of Mass Effect 3, where there's 3 different endings. In Dragon Age Origins, there was like loads of different endings. There was loads of different ways you could do that end battle. It was beautiful. I'm not going to say anything more than what the end battle was, but like it was good. Next game on the list, yeah, a Tom Clancy Splinter Cell Double Agent. Have you played that game? Funny story about that game. When I got it, yeah, I got it from I got it from a place called GameStop, and was it Game Station? I got it from a place called Game Station. GameStop's in America. Game Station, and in Game Station, when I bought the case, there was 2 discs of the game inside. So so if my cousin could come around and borrow it and all that kind of stuff. But no, The game was awesome. Again, I loved being able to have that level aspect, but it was level, but it was like free roam level. So there was like you had to get to the end, but there was like 2 or 3 ways you could do it. You could go like a loud approach, or you could do the stealth and sneaky approach. I liked the approach where you could go from A to B, yeah, and you would completely be kind of like this ghost. No one would see you, and you wouldn't even have to kill anyone. You would just be this ghost that just came from one end, dodged all the guards, and got to the other end without no one noticing. And I thought that was class. It made me feel like super stealth, and the fact that you could play the game in multiple ways just gave me an element of yes, I didn't just do it in stealth. I had the choice to do it in stealth as well. I just felt awesomely like a ghost. The next game, one of the bigger hitter games for me, yeah. Assassin's Creed 2. Absolutely phenomenal. Loved Assassin's Creed 2. Assassin's Creed 2 was like Assassin's Creed 1 came out and I loved it, and then Assassin's Creed 2 came out and I was like, this thing is like, I need to know more. I want to play more. There was like this whole adventure of give me more. I wanted to be a completionist at that point. That was my time where I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a completionist of video games. 3 more games on the list, and then I'm getting to the last one very soon. Mass Effect 2. Generally, one of the best Mass Effects of all of them. It's got the most choice in it. It's got a load of galaxy free roam. I know Mass Effect 1 was great, and to be fair, I'm a guy that likes Andromeda. I know that most people don't, but I do kind of like exploring around Andromeda. It's a really good game. But Mass Effect 2 was the best. So I loved Mass Effect. It was awesome. Absolutely love it. Next, Hitman 2. Hitman 2 is more of a modern game because it only came out not so long back. I think it had the best levels out of all the 3 Hitman games. It had quite a lot of adventure. I absolutely loved how it was, what it did, and what it offered. I can't argue against Hitman 2. I can't say anything. It's a beautiful game. It's got free roam in it. It gives you multiple ways to take out the target. You can pretty much do whatever you like, and I loved that fact. But my number 1 game of all time, which is the most free roam game of them all, is Fallout 3. I love Fallout 3. There are loads of games I could add to this, but Fallout 3 is a game I will always go back to. It aged very well. It's a game that I cannot just if I get bored or I want to play something, I will play a Fallout game. Fallout 3 to Fallout 4 to Skyrim, I will go around those circuit of games, but Fallout 3 will be the better one of the lot. And that's my kind of game of choice. And I look back at it after I did it, and I was like, I'm a free roam RPG player. I love the free roam RPG. So that's kind of where I was at. So I'm an RPG gamer.
For me, more of I had a list with multiple variety of games, but looking at it, I just like some. Most of these games are ones that offer either a well-written story and a fun story, and or a challenge. Most of these games that I did announce offer a challenge, like Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. I remember it's a very challenging game. Elden Ring was a very challenging game. Devil May Cry 3 was a very challenging game. God of War 1. Depending on the difficulty you choose, it is still a challenging game. Doom Eternal was a challenging game. So yeah, for me, I like game that challenges me. I just love that challenge.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I love a good story game as well, and I think I love RPGs just like a little bit more than story. So I like the good element in story. You do get an element of story in RPGs, but like I think it's the free roam aspect of being able to make a choice on top of that story is just a little bit hintier. But yeah, you saying story, I think that's great. I think there's an element in there that I think we can go and go like, those are the types of games we like, and those are the games that we're going to be hinted at in the future. So yeah, don't forget to visit Kamazoid's channel. Kamazoid, what are you working on currently at the moment?
Right now, I'm coming up with new ideas, new type of video for Elden Ring. Of course, I really want to do different type of videos on different kind of games, but the budget is very low at the time. But who knows? So right now, I'm working on a new style of videos for Elden Ring. Focus more on like commentary and engagement with lots of viewers. I want to expand upon and show and hope if you guys come to my channel, you'll probably know what I'll be working on very soon. I'm gonna be starting on this new series by dropping a new video, hopefully by the end of this month. I'm also continuing my original series by defeating bosses that random people choose, as well as seeing what kind of names many people like to give different kind of builds on Elden Ring. So those are the kind of videos that I'm currently working on. If you are interested and consider Elden Ring as one of your all-time favorite games and love that game, I do hope you consider checking out my channel. And that's all from me.
Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys on another episode of Jump Inside Games. That is the podcast over and out. Goodbye.